just this guy from Canada seems to be like a basic construction worker. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how they found him, but I don't know. Kind of creepy. I found that one to be really weird.
No, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Well, dude, since we're on the mode of creepy, man, I think this is the creepiest one I got. So get your creepy music playing real quick.
Okay, here we go. Ooh.
The house with a face in its floor.
Ew.
All right, dude, this one's literally like, it's freaky. Like, I don't even know. That's the only thing I can say is, it has been called, without a doubt, the most important paranormal phenomenon in the 20th century by paranormal researchers.
When did it happen? Like,
so just like keep that in mind as I'm about to like. This is in 1971. So in August in 1971, Maria Gomez Pereira was in her kitchen when she noticed a stain from forming on her kitchen floor. The stain seemed to have no evidence caused from it, but it formed a face. So this totally scared the bejesus out of her and her family. And when she couldn't remove it, her and her husband took a pickaxe to the floor and laid down a new one. So they just totally like changed the floor.
Yeah.
And so they're thinking, all right, our problem solved, right? Dude, so this is where it gets weird. And I'm kind of in the thought process right now of like talking about a stain. I'm like, all right. Yeah. You know how people see like those pictures of like Mary or whatever, like stains of Mary, or like a ship that looks like the Virgin Mary. I'm like thinking something like that, like a little bit paranormal. Yeah. But no, it gets weird. So they're like, yeah, problem solved. You know, we changed everything. It's fine. No, dude. So the face reappears a week later. So they took the wood away. Like that's, I mean, what? Wood's at least, I don't know how big a wood you're putting on, but I mean, it's going to be at least an 1/8 inch thick of wood. I mean, that's pretty thick or thicker. Dude, so the face reappears a week later. And so being like in a small town, the gossip starts to spread. The mayor gets involved. So again, the face is removed again. They take the piece of wood off again, and it's excavated to try to get to the bottom of the mystery. And so they start excavating it, right? And it turns out there's been bodies that have been buried 10 feet beneath the floor.
No freaking way.
So there's literally just buried bodies. Some of the skeletons, which were dated to be around 700 years old, and straight up just had like no heads. So they filled the floor again, and they thought that was it. Like, they're okay, like we're gonna fill this crap up some, and let's put some wood over here. Dude, a few weeks later, multiple faces began to appear on the floor again.
Ew, that is creepy, dude. I googled this. I just googled it right now. I am looking at some of the creepiest images of, and this has got to be it. I'm like freaking out right now.
Dude, so this is what happened. So it led to a full-scale investigation. They completely like sealed off his kitchen. When they officially sealed it off, the faces had moved and evolved. Some people thought that Maria, like the main lady, it was like behind this entire face thing. But since they continued to occur after her death in 2004, they were like, "Okay, there's no way like she's involved in this."
Holy crap!
So yeah, dude. So it's literally like some weird coincidence, some like haunting of these bodies or whoever this killer was. I mean, for all we know, we don't know exactly what happened, but all those bodies were just freaking appearing, dude. So yeah, that's when they said, without a doubt, this is the most important paranormal phenomenon in the 20th century.
Ew, that is absolutely creepy. I'm grossed out. Could you imagine like living in that house?
Dude, well, like, just imagine that first time you do it and you like switch it out and you're like sick. Like, that was kind of weird, but we should be good now. And then a week later, there's another face like forming on that same piece of wood that you just placed down.
Ew.
Like, cause it's deep enough, right? Like, it's not like it's pressing against the face to showing it. Cause when they changed the wood, they would see a face or a skull there. It's like, it's literally so paranormal, dude. It's freaky.
That stuff is honestly, it creeps me out. Like, oh gosh, I just don't want to mess with any of that stuff. But if I was like living in that house, if that happened the first time I was there, like I would run. I'd get out of that house immediately, and I would not stay there anymore. Like,
oh, I know, dude. That is ridiculous.
Wait, I want to
Oh,
know.
shoot, dude. I looked up the pictures too, dude. It's kind of scary.
Dude, I'm like, well, I'm in my room and I'm like all alone, and it's like the light. I had my window open because the light was already bright enough, and it's like starting to get darker in here. I'm actually creeped out. I'm so creeped out right now. That kind of reminds me. So like, I've got another one. So, on the coast of the west coast of like Canada, like Vancouver, and like in that beautiful area where like Alaska is and whatnot, there is oddly, so like since 2007, shoes of the same size and like the similar shoe, like the brand or whatever, have been washing up on the shores of like the southwest side of Canada, and with feet in them, like a foot. So, and nobody knows why they are like washing up on shore, or where these like mysterious feet, or like shoes with feet, keep washing up. It's just like the weirdest mystery that no one can find. And you know what's really creepy is that when I was in Alaska and I was on the island in the southeast, there were sometimes shoes that washed up on shore. Again, the same thing, shoes with feet in them. So it's just really weird that like these things are happening in that area. You know what I mean?
Dude, that is way weird. Are they like matching feet? Like, have they ever said like, hey, dude, we got a, size 13 Air Jordan, right foot, and then like 3 years later find like the left foot?
No, not like the same left foot like 3 years later. It's just like it's like an occurrence of like the left foot over and over and over, of like the same size of foot with like
what?
Yeah, so it's like, isn't that kind of creepy?
So that's even more creepy, because it'd be like almost less creepy if it was different.
Yeah. So
right, like it's still creepy that there's feet showing up, but it's even creepier that it's like the exact same thing.
Yeah. So very, very odd that it's doing that. And what's, like I said, when I was in Alaska, what was it? There was a shoe. They said that they found a shoe that washed up on shore on that island I was on, and it had a foot in it. It had a little foot in it. I don't know what size the foot was or anything, but they were thinking, so their idea to this whole just like mystery of shoes washing up is either from like tsunamis, but it doesn't make any sense, because I don't know, like how they were explaining it just doesn't make any sense. They're just thinking it's a serial killer and he's just like messing with everybody.
Dude, see, because did you guys in high school, did you guys ever have to do that? I don't know if it's high school, middle school, like the Nike shoe thing, like follow the ocean's currents, like this is like a real thing. Apparently, like a big boat, like cargo boat, tipped over with a bunch of Nike shoes, and they just like kept washing up on shore for like years.
I didn't know about this.
Like, yeah, and they like in school they had us do like, we had to like check all the currents and like the math and everything to figure out like where they'd come from and plate like where they'd come from.
Yeah.
But dude, that's what I was thinking about when you're telling me that. I'm like, dude, that's weird. I wonder if they can like track it back and figure out where the heck they're coming from.
Yeah. It's so creepy. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Supposedly they figured out who were some of the feet, but not all of them. And yeah, it just continues. So yeah.
Scary stuff, dude.
I know, man. I know. But what other ones you got there, Marshall? Jeff. I call Jeff, Marshall, anyone. So if anyone's ever like, what's his real name? Just call him either one, Jeff or Marshall.
Let's go with the disappearance of the Sauter children.
Oh, please tell me about this. You were telling me like this was a pretty creepy one.
Yeah, so this one's kind of weird too. So this happened on Christmas Eve in 1945 in West Virginia. So this Sauter home, their house just caught on fire. And so the parents managed to get 4 of their 9 children out of the home safely. But the father went back to get a ladder so he could access like the second floor and rescue the remaining 5 children from their rooms. And then, like, oddly enough, like, his ladder was always there, and it was just, like, randomly missing.
Ugh.
So I was like, okay, that's really weird. And then he was like, okay, well, let me go get my truck, and maybe I can do something with my truck to, like, get in the house or something. And then he went and gets in his truck, and then his truck, like, all of a sudden doesn't start.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is weird. So then he goes and tries to call the fire department, but he gets no response.
Okay.
And then so he's thinking, okay, like, what's my next step, right? He's like, well, we have our rain barrels full of water, that we can use to put out the fire.
Yeah.
Dude, they're freaking frozen solid.
What?
So that's like, what is that, 5 or 6 events in a row that he's like, okay, like, I literally could have saved my 5 kids already. Like, I don't know what's going on. So eventually the neighbor saw the smoke and went for the fire department. And so they arrived 7 hours later, after, like, the fire began. And so they found no remains in the home, no bones, and they declared all 5 children dead. So, I mean, in most cases, like, house fires do not burn hot enough to completely consume bones. So, like, there's got to be some type of remains generally. But they said, like, for some weird reason, like, they just were not there. So the Sauter parents, like, believe their kids are alive. Like, they just, like, weren't home or something. And so in the weeks leading up to the incident, they had not 1, but 2 people threatened that their home would burn down. One of the older boys noticed a man by the road watching the younger children walk home after school. And then they received a strange phone call just minutes before the blaze broke out. And since the fire, they've received tips and letters from people claiming to have seen their children around the United States.
What the heck?
Dude, so, like, oh, yeah. So essentially the parents are under the impression that, hey, we have 9 kids. We saved 4 of them, but the other 5 were taken from us.
What the heck, dude?
But it's just the way it, like, all played out is creepy and weird. Like, I don't know. It's, if you're a parent, for your kids, you're like, obviously the police officers are saying, hey, our children burned to death.
Yeah.
But there's enough weird events that happened said, hey, like, your kids are probably still alive somewhere out and about. Like, someone took them.
Oh my gosh. That is creepy. Ooh, I'm like,
yeah, dude.
I really am, like, shaking right now. That is, dang, dude. This kind of, like, there's so many creepy things out there. Like,
oh, dude,
just
it's
Google
so
it,
scary.
and there's, like, so many of these things. Oh, this is a good one. DB Cooper. I think you know who DB Cooper is.
Yeah.
So DB Cooper, if you ever watch the comedy movie Without a Paddle, he's in that one, right? Correct? That's why, yeah.
I believe that's the one they're talking about. They're, like, going to find his gold or something.
Yeah, something like that. And then I don't exactly know. I know a little bit about this story, but I think you know a little bit better than I do.
Yeah, so I also don't know, like, super well too much about it. But so essentially what happened is, so this guy's on a flight. I think he's going from, like, Seattle.
Seattle, Tacoma.
From Portland to Seattle. So it's not like a very far flight. 30-minute flight. And he's, like, a good looking guy. He's very well dressed. But dude, so he tells somebody that he has a bomb. Like, he tells, like, the flight attendant.
Yeah.
He's like, he, like, gives him a note, and she, like, kind of just, like, brushed it off. Like, she's probably thinking she's getting hit on or something. And he's, like, super, like, hey, you better look at my note. And then she, like, looks at it, and it says, like, I have a bomb. Yeah. And then she's like, okay, like, this guy's kind of weird. And so it kind of goes on, but he pretty much said, hey, I want $200,000 in negotiable American currency. So that's worth $1 million in today's money. Then he wants 4 parachutes and a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the plane on arrival. So the flight attendant goes to the captain. They get everything situated. The other passengers don't have a clue what's going on. And then,
holy crap.
And they have been told the landing was delayed due to mechanical difficulties. And so, I mean, they're pretty specific on this. Like, they have all the details. Like, so at 5:39 p.m., the plane landed. An airline employee delivers a cash-filled knapsack and the parachutes to Cooper. They allow the passengers and 2 flight attendants to leave the plane. Then after like refueling, Cooper outlined his plan to the crew.